Good morning, everybody, and happy Aloha Friday. Welcome to PSG of Mercer County. PSG of Mercer County, the professional service group of Mercer County, is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. We are here to provide a little bit of guidance, support, information, all to help you be more efficient and effective in your own job search. And want to just let you know today, if you were not aware, is Good Friday. It's a very holy day on the Christian calendar. So for those of you that are celebrating the Holy Week, I hope it's festive for you. Clearly, Good Friday is more of a solemn day, but the whole Holy Week, of course, is a celebration. And in addition, it's also National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. So if you are a big fan of peanut butter and jelly, or having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or any of the concoctions that you can make with peanut butter and jelly, please enjoy that. I think you will have a lot of fun. A lot of people really enjoy that. So it's nice. It's a little bit of a celebration for PB&J Day. In addition to letting you know what the National Day of the Week is and celebrating Aloha Friday, we do have a lot of information and resources for you. I want to just give you those real quick. Of course, we do have our LinkedIn group. Our LinkedIn group, it's a private group, but it's not a hidden group. By private, I mean you can search for it in LinkedIn, PSG of Mercer County. It will come up. And if you are not yet a member of the group, you will have the opportunity to press the join button, and please do so. And we'll put you in pending status, and that's kind of the private part of it. We do go through all of the requests about once or twice a week to join, and we make sure that the people who are requesting to join are indeed have visited at least one of our in-person or now virtual groups and meetings. So we want to really make sure the meeting is, and the group, I'm sorry, is really for job seekers and people who are really there to help job seekers. We're trying to keep the list collectors, the name collectors, the group collectors out, people that are not really attentive to those who are in job search or want to help job search. Once you're a member of the group, feel free to share articles, job leads, any information that you have that you can share with others. So you may have gotten a wonderful email this morning about a terrific job that just doesn't suit you at all. But you know it's a good job. Copy the content, paste it into a discussion, and let other people see it. Your activity in a group also helps your profile in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn does give priority in some cases to people that are more active on LinkedIn than others. So when someone is searching for someone like you, not exactly you, but someone like you, then what will happen is you might be coming up a little bit higher in those search results. In addition, we do have our website, psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It's a very robust website with over 120 pages of content, so it's more than just a landing page. So one of the pages is our event calendar. It's a link right at the top. You can click on that. We now are fully booked through, I believe, early August. So why is that important? You can take a look at our event calendar, see if there is a presenter or a topic that's very important to you in your job search, and you'll make sure you'll want to see that presentation in that meeting. So there's no obligation to be here every week. We welcome you to come as often as you want, but there may be some programs you just won't want to miss, so you'll put that on your own personal event calendar as well. One thing we haven't done in a long time, certainly since we've been virtual, is have landing stories. When we did meet in person, if there was a landing, we usually celebrated and invited the person up to the front of the meeting room just to talk for a couple minutes and tell a landing story. And that person was usually bringing cookies. So in just a moment, I will introduce Melanie, but if you want to take a break and step aside and go find a box of cookies to bring with you in this presentation, you're kind of on your own, unfortunately, because there are no digital cookies that we can share. And Melanie did not have all of our addresses, so couldn't send us cookies ahead of time. So just wanted to quickly introduce Melanie, and she has a landing story from a couple weeks ago, and just wanted to give her that time. So Melanie, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. Just wanted to share a little bit of my story in case it helps any of you in your particular job search. So some of you may recall hearing my landing story just a few months ago, and I wanted to let you know that even though I had landed, I never stopped my job search. It was a 6-month contract, and I wasn't sure, even though it had the possibility of extension or conversion, I just went ahead and kept my foot on the pedal the whole time, not really knowing what could happen. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there that I have, in fact, landed again. I was founded on LinkedIn by a recruiter, and we had a screening interview. Then he referred me to the account manager, who then submitted me to the client. After that, I had two 30-minute interviews with them, and then the verbal offer was received. So the whole process only took about 2 weeks, and I am supposed to start perhaps on Monday, maybe Tuesday. So I just wanted to let you all know that things are happening out there, and don't stress out. If it's meant to be, everything will align, and it will be. I had several interviews and recruiters, and I continued to network this whole time while I was working this particular contract, but you just never know what can happen. So I really appreciate everyone that has connected with me, that continues to network. I'm happy to help anyone that I can. I'm happy to connect and hopefully be able to help you in your journey as well. Missed out on a lot of opportunities, but just don't let it get you down. Just keep going, keep the positive mindset, and keep the momentum. And I feel confident that you're going to land something. So I'm happy to give my contact information in case anyone wants to stay in touch. But I do plan on continuing to network because I feel like it's so important. And even whether you're networking amongst yourselves with other job seekers or those that are working or recruiters, it's so important, not just now for when you land, but to continue it in the future. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'll be a marketing content manager, and the agency I'm working with is called SDI International.
Wow, congratulations, virtual applause. So very
Thank you.
good. Yeah, thanks for offering to put your contact information to us. So you can just put that in chat. And so we can either, and chat, if you're not familiar, is in the upper right corner. There's a little icon, looks like a bubble, and that's where chat is. So Melanie will put that there. Also, at the end of the meeting, when the meeting ends, I should say, I will be posting the full chat in our website, the psg@mercercounty.org website. So it'll be available there as well. So if you want to put your contact information and the name of the organization, again, that'll be helpful. So thanks, Melanie, and we'll be enjoying some virtual cookies and donuts, I guess. And
thank you, everyone. And I just forgot to mention that unfortunately I am working today, so I won't be able to stay for the whole meeting. So I will put my contact information in the chat, but then I will have to drop early.
okay, well, glad that you came by for the little while. Not really, unfortunately, you're working. I think you meant it's unfortunate you can't stay
Yes,
for the
it's
whole meeting.
unfortunate I can't stay for the meeting.
That's right. Very good. Thanks again. Okay, so let us move ourselves forward. So as a reminder, just a little bit of ground rules for Q&A or questions and answers. You could just type that right in chat. You could type the word question, and I'll look for that, and then I'll just ask Glenn to let him know there is a question, and you can ask the question to him directly. At that point, you'll just turn your mic on, ask the question, and have the conversation. Or if you prefer, type the word question and then type your question, and then I will read it. One little suggestion I have, if you type the question, please type the whole question. And the reason why, some people kind of use, I guess, like abbreviations or message speak, or they type a question in the context of a statement the speaker said a few minutes ago, and when you read it, it's out of context. So this way, it'll just make it a little bit easier. So just be a little attentive to that, be helpful to us. But you can either type just the word question or question with the text of your question. Okay, and so with that, we are really ready to go. And PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome back Glenn Pasch. Glenn is the CEO of PCG Digital. It's an Inc. 5000 company that specializes in helping businesses create and deliver a modern retail experience to get customers raving, recommending, and returning for more. Then leveraging it with digital marketing to connect with consumers of all ages and to increase sales opportunities. As an expert in digital marketing and process development, he has co-authored 2 books, including The Power of Connected Marketing. He speaks across the U.S. as well as internationally. His straightforward practical viewpoint has been honed from years in the hospitality, sales, customer service, and now as the CEO of PCG Digital. So PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome one of the most straightforward and practical people we know, Glenn Pasch.
Well, thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. I'm not, I want to dive in, but I'm not going to be putting up a PowerPoint because of, the topic is how do we stay motivated? I don't really want to show you pictures of cats or inspirational quotes. I really want to answer your questions. For those of you that have seen me speak before at, when we were doing in person, I don't love just spending 45 minutes or an hour talking to hear myself talk. I'd rather answer your questions. So I'll probably take about 15 minutes and sort of throw out, or 20 minutes to throw out some ideas about this topic. And then, as I said, I would rather answer your specific questions, because if you have a question, someone else probably has a question as well. And so we need the brave people to raise your hand. And the good thing about this group is none of you are really shy about asking questions. So again, I appreciate that as well. So the topic that David asked me to talk about, and it's has affected all of us, especially with COVID and lockdown, let alone if you were working or now you're in job transition on top of that. It's this idea of how do we stay motivated to do this? How do we continue every day putting our head down when we have a lot of these limitations to our activity, where we can go? Companies are not bringing in, companies are moving remote, so to give you a little backstory, it's been, I guess it's now almost 13 months since I sent all of my staff home. We went remote. We tried, last March, as that's when everybody was saying, oh, it's only going to be a couple weeks. Lo and behold, it wasn't. But we went remote. And so there was a lot of, learning how to be remote, how to keep people positive, and also teach people how to work at home, which was a big thing that I would do. We had more Zoom meetings with the team, conversations with the team, but I had to teach them how. I had to do a couple presentations a few times to teach them how to work at home, how to stay organized at home, how to build a workspace that you could, treat as your own, trying to keep on the same schedule. But I will tell you, we had, knock on wood, we didn't have to let anyone go. We kept everybody, but it was not easy for a lot of people to stay focused. Sometimes what would happen is they would work too long. There was no break, there was no stopping. So there was a little bit of this idea of, I call it burnout. So same thing that happens even for people who are out looking, like many of you are in the job search mode. Well, how do you balance that from getting frustrated, bored, I don't want to do this anymore, it's not working, let alone how do you keep yourself motivated and energized just as a person? So a few things that I want to share with you, because listen, I dealt with it. My wife will be the first one to tell you, there was times where she was saying, I think you're getting a little depressed, or you're getting a little like closed off, because even running a company, didn't see an end. It just became Groundhog's Day. so to speak. And there were times where you didn't even know what day it was. I literally was, I don't even know what day it was. I don't know what day of the month it was. Didn't know. It's just today. And there was things to do today. And it became very monotonous. So, so there's a couple things that I think would be helpful that I told my team to do, but also to share with you as well. This concept of motivation, right? Or how do you stay upbeat and energized? There's a few tricks to it. Again, it all does, sad to say, it's all on you, meaning us as individuals. I don't believe I can motivate anyone, right? So if I looked up yesterday, like, what does the word motivation mean? It's a reason why we do things. And they say you motivate somebody, well, you give them a reason, right? Or you give them a desire to do something. But again, it has to be you. So I always tell my team, I can't motivate anybody. I might inspire somebody because they'll say, hey, he's working hard, so I'm going to work hard, or I'm going to follow what he does. That's different. So again, this isn't going to be a pump up, let's all go out there and run through the wall type of thing. But there are some things that I think are truly important that can help you. And most of it really is how you start your day. I'm a firm believer that if you really focus on that first hour, first 2 hours of your day, it will put you in a better mental framework to approach the whole day. So what do I mean by that? Well, just think how you begin your day. How many of you, and I see a few of you on the screen, you can raise your hand. How many of you, when you get up in the morning, one of the first things you do is reach for your phone to check whatever's going on? Anyone? Okay, I see. Yep. So again, I'm guilty of it as well, meaning I'll check the weather, but I have stopped scrolling through my emails first thing in the morning, stopped going through social media first thing in the morning, because what I was finding, it was putting me in a reactive mode. As soon as I picked up that phone and I started consuming content, I was reacting to other things going on. And sometimes it might put me in a good mood. Sometimes it made me mad. Sometimes it made me frustrated, but all of a sudden somebody hijacked my day right out of the gate. So if you think about it that way, I'm allowing someone else to hijack my day. So I say to, if you start off your day, your feet hit the floor, one of the things I do, first thing I do is drink a glass of water, start flushing out the system. But now I start thinking to myself, in that first hour, what's in my control? What can I do for myself to put me in a better mental framework? Now, some people will, read, maybe they'll read, if they're, from a religious standpoint, they'll read some religious text. I think that's fine. I think there's a couple things to start your mental day. One of the first things is just, again, creating a ritual. Do you wake up at the same time, or does it just, now again, I wake up, I had COVID, so my body's fighting me to sleep a little later every morning, but usually I'm up between 5:30 and 6, no alarm, nothing. I'm just up and I go, and I have about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes before the kids are up and I got to go, or my wife's up, and it's, let's make coffee and let's get the breakfast going. But if you start that first hour of your day and you say, okay, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's just sitting quietly with your thoughts. Some people take that time. I've asked some friends what their morning routines are, and some of them will say, I write down, some like a journal, they'll say, I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. So I start my day with a sense of gratitude that I'm up, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have family, I have friends, I have a roof over my head, I have food in my, but it puts you in a thought process right out of the gate of, wow, I'm in good shape. I have a lot going on that's positive, versus we get up and we think always about what's not right, right? We can combat that. We can go after that later on. But if I start my day with a sense of gratitude, all of a sudden I'm putting myself in a position of thankfulness. Then that's why I said some people like to meditate. I have a friend of mine who he's been doing it for about 120 days. He went on a thing where he said, I'm going to meditate in the morning just for 10 minutes. And he says it's really helped him just to clear out, just let whatever thoughts, maybe it's what he was dreaming about or just thought, but he says, I just let my mind dump out what I'm doing. Other people like to journal first thing in the morning, write down whatever's in their brain to dump it, get it out of here. But I think, as I said, that sense of gratitude first thing in the morning, not your phone, not reacting to the world, you're intentionally starting your day the way that you want to do it. Now, another thing people I like doing myself is exercising in the morning. Now, even if you're not exercising first thing in the morning, you're going, Glenn, I'm not a first thing in the morning exercise thing. Still move around your house. Just get up, don't sit in bed. Right? As soon as you're out, you're out. Get up, walk around your apartment, walk around your house just to get the blood flowing versus I move from one place to the couch and I sit there for another. You got to get the blood pumping. And again, exercise is important. It's a proven thing to keep your mind sharp, is keeping your body moving. Doesn't mean you have to do anything super physical, but going for a walk, right? Doing some sort of stretching. Some people do yoga, some people do weights, whatever it is. But getting that blood pumping fuels your brain, and it also gets you out of your head because you can't do it correctly if you're thinking about a million things. Remember, what we're trying to do is starting our day with intentionality. The other thing I do every morning is I read something. I read only like 5 pages, but it's something that gets my brain moving in a positive way. Be it an inspirational book, be it a biography of somebody, but I'm putting good things into my head because I know eventually I'm going to get to this. Can't help myself. I'm going to go on to social media because part of it's my job. I am going to read the news because I need to know what's going on, be it business news or whatever, or I'm on LinkedIn to check, or I'm posting, or whatever I'm doing. I'll get there, but I'm trying to start my day fueled up, both physically, mentally, attitude-wise, that I'm powered up to go confront whatever's going on. And then one of the last things that I do in the morning is then I look at my to-do list. What do I have to do today? Now, how many of you have a to-do list? Anybody? Yes. How many of you have more than 10 things on your to-do list? Right? You can. But what I recommend is to say to yourself 3 things. 3 things for your business, right? So right now, if your business, the way you look at it is my business is going out to get a job, right? That's my business right now. That's where I'm devoting my time to whatever. So 3 things, and then 3 things personally that you want to get done today. It could be I just need to exercise. I got to call somebody to check in with somebody, or I'm got to go do this for the house, whatever it is. The key about having more than 10 things on your list is you're never going to get it done. And what you end up doing is feeling like, well, all I'm doing is moving things on my list, pushing things off. Now, I have, right? So I'm old school, book, pencil every day. But what I do is I have a list in the back of ongoing things, right? So that I remember, okay, I have to do this for the house, or I have to do this for the kids, or we got to do this. So because I have a horrible memory, getting old, right? We all know things don't happen that way. So I take notes on here to remind myself, and then it transfers to my list. But then every day I say, what are the 3 things that I have to get done today for business? Non-negotiable, got to get them done. Same thing, 3 things for personal. Getting those done are a sense of accomplishment. Again, we're in control of it because remember, as the day goes on, other people are trying to get on your schedule, other things are happening. So, David made the comment, all of a sudden, tree blows down in my yard, like things happen. We know that. But if I start out with that focus in the morning of no phone for the first hour, I start my day thinking, what am I grateful for? Be it I meditate or I just write down what I'm grateful for. I move around a little bit to get my body moving. I drink a little bit of water. And then I say to myself, okay, I'm going to read something that's inspiring me, that makes me happy, that makes me going, oh, that's great, right? Good stuff going into my head. And then I also then go to my task list and my to-do list. If you start your day like that, if you just committed to doing that for the next 30 days, I would love to hear back, or David can let me know, or you can email me yourself. I'd love to hear what a difference it made. Because I know when I started really doing it, not half doing it, all of a sudden my morning was different. Because again, when I was super guilty of jumping on here and scrolling through the news and getting mad, just mad. Like, how are these people doing this? This is the dumbest thing ever. Or look what happened to this person. That's unbelievable. Or I'd be thinking, and all of a sudden I'd start within half an hour feeling like I'm chasing the day. I hated that feeling. Hated that. And that's what also for me, I wasn't motivated. There were times where it's just like, I didn't feel like working or doing stuff because my brain was half distracted on something else. But once I got that routine going down, I felt myself being more present, being able to go attack the day myself. I felt like I was prepared. My energy was right. My mental focus was right. I had a target versus looking at 15 things going, I have so much to do, versus I'm knocking these 3 things out. Now, if I had more time, there's always your list. You can always go and find something to do. But having that attitude kept me in a more positive frame of mind, which then got my day going. Now, in terms of your job, looking for a job and connecting, like I believe it was Melanie who said she kept going. Again, if you're really looking at it and saying, this is my job, I have to go out here and do this day in and day out, I get it. There are companies hiring, but a lot of companies did shut down. There were a lot of companies that laid people off and didn't bring people back. So I get it, but there are companies who are hiring, they're looking. So what I think from staying motivated there is really very similar to what we talked about just earlier about your ritual for your day. What is your ritual for getting out to find a job? Now, for me, I would be, to prepare for this, I reached out to a lot of people who just got jobs, people who are looking for jobs, who are doing, like Melanie said, contract work. So they're always looking for a job. And I said, what's going on? How are you finding these jobs? The biggest answer to all of them was through their network, meaning on social media. It was absolutely amazing how many people said, because I was talking to people on LinkedIn and Twitter, right? Some of these folks were on Twitter. They said because they built relationships on there, they were getting people to recommend them because, one, they knew about who they were, they got a sense of who they were as people. It was really fascinating to me how many people said, I never went through the job search, like to get to the place, I didn't have to search. I got recommended. Now, just like Melanie, I had my interviews, I had to go through all of those things, but hearing about jobs was all through the network. So my question to all of you is, how active are you on your social media platforms to connect with people, to have conversations? David's done a great job bringing people in who are, experts on LinkedIn, and conversations. But to me, I always say, are you reading when you're on LinkedIn and reading stories or people sharing articles? Are you commenting? Are you actively commenting? Are you saying to yourself every day, my job is to go have conversations on LinkedIn, have conversations on Twitter, go follow the hashtags of what industry you're in, right? So marketing, there's a hashtag called marketing Twitter. And all of these people are just in it and they're talking and they're trying to help each other because they start going back and forth with each other or they have side conversations. It's, having a process, having a way of mining. If your resume is already great, good, we don't have to worry about that. Then it's really about building the network for yourself so that people know. Now, I've done, we did one session a while ago about really being able to tell your story in 20 seconds, in 10 seconds. Like, what do you do? You're not a title, right? You're not a title. I wrote articles about it. I talked about this because I did that. I worked for a company for 10 years, and when I got out of that job, or they let me go out of that job, whichever way you want to look at it, my identity was so tied to that company, I didn't know who I was. And it took me a while to figure out, one, that's never going to happen to me again. And number two was being able to talk about what I did versus, well, I was an operations manager. Like, people don't understand what that means. So, think about your network of friends, your personal friends. Do they really know what you do? In a simple way that they could recommend you to somebody if they talk to another friend and somebody said, well, I have this issue at work, or I'm looking for somebody that can do something like that. Do they know exactly going, oh, that's Mike. I got a friend, Mike, he can do that. Or do your friends just know what your title is, right? So again, even just your really close network, the problem sometimes with being motivated about doing all of this and the frustrations that come with this is because it's not super clear what you do. That someone else will recommend you, right? I constantly like marketing, David read my little bio, and it's always weird to hear what it does. But when people say, well, what do you do? I said, I connect you to your customers. I put your business in front of potential customers so you can sell more of your products and services. Period, end of story. That's what I do. And all of a sudden someone goes, well, how do you do that? Now they lean in. They say, well, how do you do that? Okay, now we can go deeper. So same thing. Do you make it easy for your network of people, your current friends? I'm not talking about let's go on LinkedIn, we're going to meet more people, but even on LinkedIn. But if I read your summary, am I going to know what problem you solved? Or am I just going to read a list of your titles or your certification? Now, sometimes that works. You got to have them there, but I'm talking about your summary, talking about conversation. So again, it gets fun when you have that really clear idea of who you are, who you can help, what industry can you help, because probably there's a lot of you could help a variety of industries, but maybe you just worked in one industry for a while and you say, well, that's what I know. But if we really sat down and talked about it, probably say, well, what you do, most industries could use. So that opens up your potential places for you to go talk to. So again, the reason why a lot of people lose motivation is they don't have a system or a structure or a process. So every day I have to reinvent the wheel. Some of it also is I don't see, it's like Melanie said before she left, that idea of I never stopped. I keep going, I keep doing it. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you say, yeah, Glenn, that sounds good for you, but I have been doing this. Well, actions cause results. If we're not getting the results we want, well, then we got to go back and look at the actions and we got to say, okay, this isn't getting me what I want. What do I have to change? What can I rethink? How do I approach this maybe differently? Because again, you could be working out every single day and you're going, Glenn, I work out every day. I'm not losing weight. And then I'm going to say, well, what are you eating? Well, I have a friend who works out all the time. He says 85% of it's what you put in your mouth. You can work out all you want, but if it's not, right? So you can lose motivation for working out, but you're not looking at the totality. So same thing with your job hunt. I would be saying, if you're honestly saying my resume is great, then let's not worry about it. Look at your LinkedIn profile again and just say, listen, if that's a place where people are going to go and look at me, do I make it easy for them to understand what problems I solve for companies? Like, that's the key, not a title, right? Because remember, all of you, I'm looking at 16 people here, all of the companies you worked at, you had a title, and probably 3 or 4 of you might have similar titles based on where you worked. But when you really sat down, probably what you did was all different. So the title of manager in one company is different, right? So Melanie mentioned account manager. Well, I don't know. Again, what does that account, like I have account managers, but they probably do something completely different than what her account manager did. She's a content creator. Well, I have people who are content. See what I'm saying? So that you can sit there and say, well, we're both content creators and have completely different solutions to those problems. So look beyond that. So again, that's also where sometimes the motivation to constantly get up and go, oh, I got to go sell myself again. Yeah, it's hard. You're the product. So again, what is the product that I'm selling, right? If Mike's the product, what is he selling? I got to go out. If I'm as a marketer, I got to say, okay, what solutions does Mike provide to what problems? Then I go find those people who have those problems and I present Mike as a solution. Very similar to going shopping. I'm going to make a recipe. I need these ingredients. I got to go somewhere to find those ingredients, solve my problem. I can't make this if I don't have that. Same thing. I have a problem in my business. We need to know that Mike can provide that solution. So when you're out looking at so again, look at your LinkedIn profile today through that lens. If I gave my LinkedIn profile to anybody, stranger on the street, say, read that. Do you understand what I do? If they can't, and it's all industry speak too much, rethink it. Keep it simple. All of your titles and all of you, remember, they'll scroll down and they'll read where you worked last, what your title was, and then the little blurb about what you did in that company. But in order for me to scroll down and see all that stuff, you got to sell me at the top. So again, keeping the motivation. To me, it sounds simple, but it's worked for me to grow my business. It's all networking. I know people sit in front of you every week and say it's your network, it's your network, it's your network, but it is. And how are you out promoting yourself? And I know it's uncomfortable, right? I'm 60, did I just turn 61? Yeah, 61. No, yes. Yeah, something like that, or 60, I'm not 61 yet. Anyway, we were told way back when kids are seen and not heard. Talking about yourself is bragging. Don't brag, that's bad. But you got to. You have to sell yourself. You have to connect with people that they like you and they remember you. So again, I have a friend of mine who uses the word all the time and I laugh at it, but it makes sense. She goes, my tribe of people. She goes, I got my tribe. But she's connected with people who help her grow her business. They bring her clients. Why? Because they like her. They like her. They connect with her, top of mind. So when somebody's out talking about something, they go, oh, you need to talk to Michelle. Oh, you need an agency? You got to talk to Glenn. It's really important because that's the way you're going to get recommended, is you connect in a lot of people. People know who you are, not just what you do, but the quality of your personality. And that to me I look at it as a game, and that's why I still stay motivated. I don't worry about my follower count and I don't worry about that, but I post content. I started a podcast last year. I talk to people. It's fascinating too. When I started the podcast, I can get to people that I never could get to before because people like talking about themselves. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting across from people who I would consider more successful in certain areas. If I didn't have the podcast, would they give me the time of day? Maybe, maybe not. If I connect and say, hey, I have a podcast, I'd love to interview you. Sure, when do you want to do it? I post, again, if anybody follows me on LinkedIn, you see that I post articles. I make a post every day that's just a comment, a thought, something in my brain, and people respond, or I jump on other people's articles and I comment to them. And that's the way I start building my network so people recommend me. So that's where, listen, I'm telling you, it can be really boring. How many, show of hands, who was in sales? Anybody in sales? You all should be selling something, meaning yourself. But same thing, sales is a long process to land somebody. You got to stay in front of people, you got to follow up, and you're like, damn, nobody's listening to my emails, they're not returning my phone calls. And but then lo and behold, you love them 2 months later when all of a sudden they say, hey, Barbara, sorry, Sorry, I was busy, but glad you stayed in touch with me. Glad you followed up. I'm ready to do business. And you're like, yes. But all those 2 months, you were just sitting there going, this is monotonous. It is. Job hunting's monotonous. It's sales. It's monotonous at times. But if you believe that you are the solution, it's a little egotistical, but if you're saying, listen, I'm worth it. Show of hands, are all of you worth it to a company? Yes? Yes, believe it. So then sell it. You have to step out of yourself and look at yourself, I hate to say it, as a product or a brand, but you have to tell people very simply, here's what I do. Here's how I do it. Look at my track record over here. And the more that you connect with people and they like you and they understand what you do, and you ask them, let me ask you another question, show of hands, does everyone in your personal network or even your LinkedIn network or your social media network, does everyone know that you're looking for work? Show of hands. Yes? Good. Some of you didn't raise your hand. Either you're shy because you don't want to raise your hand, or sometimes you're embarrassed to tell other people you're in job transition. Well, that's not helping you, because your best friend may know somebody who's looking for what you do. That's what I mean, leveraging your network. It happened to a lot of people. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Everybody, there isn't one person that I've met that has worked for the same company for their whole career. Nobody. Maybe my father's generation, but even my father moved job to job. He worked for probably 5 or 6 in the same industry, but he went from job to job to job. So again, not embarrassing. Don't be embarrassed. But again, you got to make sure everybody in your personal network knows you're looking, very clearly understands what it is you do in layman's terms. I told the story of a friend of mine who was an auditor, and he asked me to help him, how to market himself. And I said, well, what do you do? And he says, I'm an auditor. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And once he explained it to me, we came up with a better tagline. He became the business doctor. He goes, I go in and I give companies a health checkup, not just their P&L, their whole health checkup. And I tell them, here's what they do well. Here's where you need help. Here's where something you got to pay attention to. I said, great. Within 2 months, he had 3 new clients because he was at picnics, he was at Friends, and people said, hey, here's what I do. I'm a business doctor. I give health checkups to businesses. I work with them and I tell them where they're strong and where they need to pay attention to so they can be more successful. People knew how to explain that. All of a sudden someone said, hey, my cousin needs something like that. He was complaining about his business. Here, connect. Hey, I know somebody who does that and needs that, connect. But if you're like, I'm an auditor, completely like, okay, great, thank you very much. And then you go back to talking sports or things of that nature. So again, the motivation will come in ways. If you think you're always going to be motivated to do this, you're crazy. That's number one. I run a business and I'm not motivated every day. Like, yeah, because there's ups and downs. It's ups and downs up here, ups and downs physically, ups and downs of, oh my God, clients, we love them, we hate them. We have love-hate relationships with them. But again, it is the going back, and then I want to get to your questions. The ritual of starting your day will help you put yourself in a better mindset. Starting the day, no phone for the first hour, gratitude, what's good in my life, read a little bit, something inspiring to get your brain moving, walk a little bit around your house to physically move. If you want to exercise, have a good breakfast, and then literally write down your 3 things that I have to do for business today. So in your case, if you're looking for a job, what are the 3 things I have to do? And then what 3 things personally do I have to do? That sets your day then off and running. And like I said, you'll just put you in a better mindset to confront all of the ups and downs. And then from a business standpoint, what are you doing? Do you have a routine? Do you have a ritual where you say, I'm on social media, I'm on LinkedIn for an hour every single day, and I'm reading some of these articles, I'm responding to articles, I'm just saying hello to some people, I'm posting some content. Remember what I said in a previous session at one time, if you write, great. If you don't worry about writing. Share an article that you read Maybe you read something and you said, this was great. Well, share it to your network. Hey, this article by Craig is really, really good. I like point number 3, and here's my opinion on that. What do you think? Remember, always ask a question to your network. What do you guys think? And a conversation starts. And if somebody responds to you, respond back to them. Have that conversation. Now you're starting to build out your network. Same thing on all social media platforms. And again, schedule calls with your friends, Zoom calls with friends. My wife has friends that they do a Zoom happy hour every other week, and they all sit around and they talk, just because we're, not physically connected, or we can't go hang out with people right now. Okay, whatever you have to do. And then lastly, has anybody heard of the platform Clubhouse? Show of hands if you have. Are any of you on Clubhouse? Show of hands. Very good, Nancy. Clubhouse is a phenomenal way to connect with people, right? So what Clubhouse basically is, it's audio only, right? No video. And it's basically, think of it as if you're going to a convention, and there's all these different rooms, and people will title the room, and they'll say, this room is about X. So there's probably rooms about job hunting, right? There's rooms on marketing, rooms on whatever, and someone's hosting the room. You could host a room, and you could say, I want to talk about job seekers, struggles of job seekers. That's my room. I'm the host. You say, it's going to be this Friday at 12 o'clock. And guess what? People show up. And then you can have conversations. And I've gotten more connections. I've gotten more opportunity to get work or connect people because you hear them, right? And you get to know them. You get to hear their take on things and their conversations. And it's a great place, I think, to, again, start connecting with people. And just listening, you don't have to talk. You can just sit in the audience and listen. You can leave whenever you want. You can raise your hand, say, hey, I have a question, I have a comment, I have a thought. It's a really great place to get to know people, right? So again, it's amazing also some of the people who show up, call them celebrities or whatever, but they're up there talking about their lives, be it inspiration or they're helping somebody. And like I said, it's a great place. Again, if you're getting a little worn out trying to figure this out on yourself, I'd be on Clubhouse and looking around for job seekers or recruiters, because recruiters are on there talking about what they look for. You're like, okay, let me go ask a couple questions. And you say, there's people talking about LinkedIn. There's people talking about how to market yourself. Tons of different things. And it's only on iPhone. It's not on Android. It's free. I think it's great. It's a lot of fun. I did it really heavily for about 2 or 3 weeks in January, and then I had to taper off because it can be a little addicting, because you will jump into rooms and it's fun. Some rooms run for a long time. Some rooms just run for an hour. You can see every day what rooms are going. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to pop over here, and you can just jump in and out of rooms and listen. And as I said, you can start having conversations. That's a great way to connect because it's audio. You don't have to worry about how you look. And it's not email or back and forth on LinkedIn. It's actually having conversations, so it's fun. So I think that would be a great place, because again, it'll just shake up your routine. But if you're finding yourself in your process, and like I said, I would definitely want to, oh yeah, Nancy says it works on iPad too. So again, it has to be an Apple device. So again, if you have an Android phone, but you have an iPad, you can do it off of the iPad as well. Jim asks me, Jim says, is it an app or could you access via online? No, it's an app. It's an app. It doesn't, I don't think it works on, I haven't tried it on Mac, but I think it's just an app for your phone or for your iPad. But again, that's a great place. And again, it's just to shake the monotony of what you're feeling sometimes when it's like, nobody's answering me, who's hiring? But again, you are a prospect. You have to prospect out there, let people know that you're looking for a job, what solutions you can do. That's really the key. So enough of me, let's talk about you guys. So let's talk questions. Let's see, anybody have questions? Come on now, don't make me sit here and talk. I hate it, you know that now. Question, okay. Let's see, Lisa, Lisa says, Lisa, do you want to just open up your mic and ask, or do you want me to read it?
Sure, mic open. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So I'm very visual, and when I am on these kinds of calls, I looked and saw how many people were visible. So I counted anywhere on this wonderful, presentation. Thank you. I counted anywhere from like half a dozen to up to like 16, and then everybody went dark. And so because I'm visual, I like to recommend people who I feel more connected to visually. And the audio is important, but my thought was asking you, I mean, what I would do is if I was hearing audio, immediately want to connect with them on LinkedIn because employers are looking at LinkedIn. What are your thoughts on that? Would you recommend someone just based on how they sound, or would you also want to see what they look like before you are personally putting your recommendation into the company where you know people?
Well, good question. I mean, they do have a profile picture. People change their profile pictures or whatever. But if, again, I would connect with them. If you're going to recommend them, yeah, then I'd reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to chat with you about an opportunity that I might have, or read their LinkedIn profile, or connect with them first on LinkedIn and just say, hey, I heard you on Clubhouse. Right. So in there, the two you can use, it's connected. The Clubhouse app connects. You can put your LinkedIn, you can have a link out to your Twitter profile or your Instagram profile, but not LinkedIn. You can still just say, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can put whatever you want in your bio for people to click, but it's, people may just click and connect with you on Instagram. I had to get back more mentally into Instagram because I stopped it for a while because that's the way people were connecting me and DMing me, and I'm going, I don't use it. Okay, I got to go back and relearn this. But yeah, if somebody's inspiring you or connecting with you and things like that, I'd go look at what their profile is and talk to them before I'd recommend them. But it's just another way to hear their personality. Right? Just because I can write doesn't mean I can really talk about it or do it. So it's just another layer of getting to know a person behind, the LinkedIn profile picture, because it could be completely opposite. Wow, their LinkedIn profile looks good. And then when I hear them talk, I'm going, really that, or the way they explain things or the way they communicate, you're going, that wouldn't be a fit. So great question. Sure. Neil says, what's the exact name of the Clubhouse app? Very good. Hold on. I will tell you. I think it's just called, let me see, let me go to the App Store here. Give me a second. I think it's just called Clubhouse, right? So it looks like it has a picture of this, at least right now, has a guy with a baseball cap on. See if you can see the top one right there, Clubhouse. On Twitter, it's the Clubhouse app or something like that. But yeah, it has a picture of a guy in a baseball cap.
Thank you.
It's free, and you just log in and join, and you build out your profile, throw a profile picture up. I mean, there are some rules, and when you start Clubhouse, you can go online. There's a great article from Social Media Examiner talking about Clubhouse, rules, so to speak, because when you get in there, if you go into a room, you'll see people at the top are on the stage. Some of them have green dots next to them. They're moderators. And then you have the next group of people down are people who are followed by the speakers, and then other people in the audience. And so again, there's a little hand at the bottom. So that means if you have a question, you push that, and then someone on the stage will bring you up on stage so that you can ask your question. When you come up on stage, you have a little microphone in the bottom. You got to make sure that's off, and then same thing. You turn your microphone on, ask your question, turn your microphone off, and then they have a conversation. So, but it's a lot of fun. Do you can, yes. So the other question was, don't you need an invite to join Clubhouse? Yes and no. Sometimes they open it up just to anybody, but I have invitations. If somebody wants to join Clubhouse, all you have to do is send me your phone number, right? Because that's what, then I'll just add you as a contact and I'll send you an invite. But a lot of people who are on Clubhouse, there's a few people who said they raised their hands who are on Clubhouse, you have invitations. It says, my challenge. Craig, do you want to pop your out, or do you want me to read this comment, or do you want to say something about it?
No, I'm just going to say, this presentation is about keeping yourself motivated, which is great. But sometimes, at least for me, speaking just for myself, is that I just feel like I'm doing it every day, all day long, applying, being on LinkedIn, doing all the right things, taking an online class. Everything about my life has become about finding a job. So sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the time, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, I don't allow myself just a day off to just go to the park, sit there under a tree and read a book and say, I'm done. I'll start again tomorrow, because I feel that sense of guilt that, well, the state of New Jersey is paying me to stay alive, so I'm not allowed to do
Well,
that.
okay, so I understand that, absolutely. And the fact that you're looking at it as a business and I'm doing all of these things, but there is that balance, right? It's no different than, let me ask you a question. When you had a job, right? When you were employed, somebody was paying you, did you take days off? So you took a day off, somebody was paying you, there wasn't guilt, maybe saying, well, I could be working, but you needed that for your mental ability. So again, that's part of this motivation, staying motivated is your health. And there, comes to a wall. Like, think about when you were employed with, and you had that steady job, there were days where you got burnt out doing the same thing. Some people will say there's no such thing as burnout. Well, yeah, there is. If you're not, if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, it gets boring. You lose the edge. That's why I was saying jumping on an app like Clubhouse just fills your head with other ideas, right? So I belong to one that is that was started by 2 car dealers. Now, again, that's a lot of my audience or my client base. But every day they're just talking about different things, helping each other. Or here's what I do, or here's what I do. And they're like, oh, that's great. So again, it just breaks the monotony of, like you're saying, is I'm doing the same thing over and over. And so I challenge you is be careful of doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If it's not getting you results, right? If you're applying, and I'm not getting any interviews, well, now I have to take a step back and say, where's the disconnect? What's another angle? Right? That's why LinkedIn, initially was created, so that I could know somebody. Lisa works at the company that I want to, or she's connected to a person I need to get to. Lisa, can you connect me to that person? Right? That whole idea of networking and recommendation. So if you're feeling exhausted, you need the day. You need the day, or half a day. Even if you just say, listen, this morning, I'm going for a walk. I'm going to the park. But think about it. Even if you're saying, the great thing about what we can do now is I can take my laptop if I'm working. I can go work in the park just to break the monotony of coming to your desk every day and looking at the same thing every day, which is what happened with a lot of our team when they were going remote. They were going, oh my God, I'm getting, we'd have to tell them, stop and take lunch, get out of the house and go for a walk, stop at 5 o'clock, because they just sit at the same thing, and it just all of a sudden time disappeared, didn't know. So for that, I wouldn't feel guilty. Meaning, remember, at the end of the day, the state is giving you money that you gave them. They took it out of your check. Sorry to say, I felt that way when I hurt myself when I was working with my father. I was 18 or 19 years old, construction, and I hurt myself. And I said, I'm not getting unemployment. I'm not. He goes, you paid for this. That's what it's there for. They take it out of your check so use this time to, now, as I said, whatever you're doing, if it's not getting you benefits, well, then we have to take a step back and look at it and say, is my message clear enough? Am I applying to the right companies? Am I approaching it the same way? Is there another angle to do this? What other things could I do? Even coming to this call, you know, every week. It just gets another way for you to think about, or somebody, hey, I tried this, or you tried this. But you're right, that guilt of, if I'm not working all the time, I'm a bad person. No, because just putting in the hours, but not being focused or doing the right things, yeah, you feel good that, oh, I put in 8 hours today, but who cares? I'd rather you put in 3 hours where you're excited and you're really going, this is awesome. I got a new lease on life. I got a new angle, or I'm just going to spend time on Clubhouse. You may say, well, that's not helping me. Yeah, I beg to differ, because I'm getting other information in my head, a new angle to do that, versus I'm just, right? You don't want your job search to become a assembly line where I'm just every day. That's not good, because then your heart's not in it. Okay. Let's see. Other questions? Great, everybody's putting out here, right? Okay. If you're on, somebody had a question. Sorry, it keeps jumping down. Here we go. Joanne, is it Joanne? Joanne Barry? Berry. Do you want me to read this, or do you want to open up your mic and chat? Okay, I'll read it. If you're, I just jumped again. If you're on Clubhouse, every time somebody types in something, it jumps. Here on Clubhouse, should you advertise that you're on your LinkedIn profile? If so, where's the best section, header, or whatever? Yeah. Don't forget that you've paid in unemployment, right? Somebody said the same thing. Great. And yes, somebody said to Craig, yeah, like you said, Craig, it's easier said than done to change your mindset. Absolutely. But again, go back to the way you start your day. If you're grateful, right? I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I have this. I am grateful that I have these skill sets that I can go deliver to a company, versus nobody's hiring what I do. Again, it also is clarification of what it is you do, because sometimes, as I said earlier, we narrow down our focus to say, well, I've always worked in this industry. That's the only industry I can work in. And I've challenged other people to say, well, no. Once you hone in on what it is, what problem you solve, there's probably tons of businesses that have that same problem outside of the industry that you're comfortable in, just different angle. But to answer the question about putting on Clubhouse on LinkedIn, yeah, just like you would say, connect with me on Twitter, you know, on social media, however you want to add, it's where you want to connect, you know, especially if your name is different on Twitter than it is on Instagram, than on LinkedIn, you know, based on what, you know, somebody wants. But yeah, I would say, hey, I'm on Clubhouse. Let's connect. Follow me on Clubhouse, you know, because again, if you're moderating rooms or you're involved in rooms, and a lot of people just, you know, a couple of people get together and say, let's start a room on Clubhouse. And then you just pick a day. Some people do rooms every single day, right? So they have it every single day at 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock to whatever. They have rooms Monday to Friday. Other people do it once a week. Some people just start them tomorrow. So again, these are all great opportunities, but yes, wherever, if you want to connect with people, depends on where you hang out. Same thing on Clubhouse. I tell people to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Instagram is not my place. So you connecting with me on Instagram, it could be a day or two till I remember to go check my messages on Instagram, because I don't do it. It's not natural to me, right? So it's like, go find me on LinkedIn. I'm hooked in right? So on my phone, notifications come from LinkedIn, and maybe Twitter, but I don't have notifications from all these other ones because I'm not paying attention to them, right? Any other questions? Again, the motivation, like I said, I'm not here making it seem like I'm motivated all the time. I'm excited all the time. I have to mentally push myself sometimes. And COVID kicked my butt. Being home, there's been so many positive things about being home for a year, but there's also other things that I miss. I like being around people. I like speaking at conferences. I like going to my clients. That's fun for me. And not having that. So to Craig's point, me sitting at my desk every day, running the business, I even just being around my team gets me going. And that being ripped away is monotonous. And my wife would tell me too, get out of the house. Yeah, but I'm working. No, get the hell out of the house. Your energy's off. Go for a walk. Go do something else and then come back and get a better mental attitude. So it's always good to have her telling me what I'm saying. Nice weather's coming, right, David? Yes, get out of the house. Other questions about it, or other things that maybe you guys would like to share on ways that you keep yourself to fight through it. I mean, Craig, I appreciate your honesty with that, because I'm sure there's other people who are going, yeah, it sounds great, Clint, but, and the same thing, I'm not sitting here saying it's easy. My wife's be the first one to tell you that this whole year has really pushed me to overthink things, to the point of, she's even said, maybe you're getting a little depressed. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, I beg to differ, just because of that monotony, and you don't see the impact you're having. And that's really hard. So that's why I was also saying is that if you're not getting the results, right? So we always keep it very simple. Actions cause results. If I'm not getting the results I want, I got to go look at the actions. And just because I'm busy doesn't mean I'm doing the right actions. So that's why these groups, you guys getting together, you guys talking together, knowing what you do, how you do it, just brainstorming. Well, what are you doing, right? Even reaching out to Melanie and say, what did you do? What was different? Now, again, it could be a different industry, but maybe she did something or connected with somebody, or how did she connect, right? Let's see, we have another question. Jim, it says, in general, when you see your job search has stalled, nothing is happening, even though you're doing the right things, and you get 3 rejections in one day, how do you get motivated after that? Well, Jim, that's a real kick in the teeth. So again, that to me is one of those ones where you're going to get positives, you're going to get negatives. For me, when employees leave, when clients leave, like same thing, those are kicks to the gut. And you go back and you say, after the initial, what? I always look at it and say, was it something we did, or was it something out of my control, right? So if it's a client leaving, that can be out of my control because they got a new general manager who just wants to fire all the vendors because they're not his vendors or her vendors, and everybody goes out whether we're doing a great job or not. Or was it we dropped the ball on something? So for you, if you're saying that your job search is stalled and you're saying you're doing the right thing, so if you hear me through, you got 3 rejections, that meant you had 3 interviews. So someone else could turn around and say, damn, he had 3 rejection letters. That meant he had 3 interviews. I'm not even getting to that point. So now you could be someone that says, well, here's how I got those interviews. Here's how I leverage my network. Now, in terms of the rejection letters, the question I would be asking you, did you reach out to them and ask them why? That's a tough one, but maybe there was something, again, was it in your control, out of your control? Right? Did you get rejected because they got someone that we brought back an older employee, someone who worked for us previously, so that's why you got rejected. Maybe it has nothing to do with your skills. Again, we tend to look at the rejections as it has to be us. And I'm telling you, when I'm on the other side, when I'm hiring people, we interview a bunch of candidates. Some are good, some are not good. And if they ask us, I will, right? I would ask them, or I'd tell them, here's why, if they are willing to ask. But the key is not a lot of people do. But I would, because maybe it has nothing to do with your skills. But same thing, someone else said, Craig said, you got 3 no's. Each of those no's is closer to a yes because you're at the table. So the question I'd be asking is, what do you think? How do you think the interview went? Did I overtalk? Did I not talk? Was I not clear on what I did? Did I not talk about the problem that I'm solving for them? Or was I just talking about my title or jobs or things like that? Sometimes, again, it could just be clicking with people. Maybe they didn't think you were a right fit for whatever they think the culture is. I don't know. But my question would be is, if I'm constantly trying to refine what we did, right? So just like we do, when I lose a client, we debrief. I want to know. I'll call the client up too. We have an exit interview. Now, sometimes they'll say, oh, no, we loved you. We're just going in a different direction. something's not right, because they went in a different direction. If everything was right, they'd still be with us. But I'm going to dig in and I'll talk, and sometimes it's a combination of both. It's just somebody's there for a while. So again, I'd ask that. Maureen says, significance of Twitter. Has this emerged as being more relevant? And it began as kind of a social media commentary site. It seems as if it's morphed into more of a networking. Yeah, I think I think all social media became more relevant over this last year just because everybody's at home. And that's the way they connect. I think it is. I think it depends how you use Twitter and how you are connected. Yes, it still is a social commentary site, meaning it is people complaining or banging on people, but that's all social media. Social media is just giving people the ability to rant and complain or whatever. But if you're connected to some really good people on Twitter or that you follow, I like Twitter because it gets my news up very quickly. News moves faster on Twitter than it does anywhere. Number two, I can connect with some people and ask questions and get answered. Also, I just follow some great people and I get inspired by listening or watching their content. And Twitter, for the most part, if you're respond back, they'll respond back to you. Again, remember, it's social. That's the whole fun thing, is it is social. So I like Twitter. As I said, it's one of my favorites. Twitter and LinkedIn are probably my two favorites that I use. Mike says, having a plan helps with keeping a positive mindset and having people to talk to, even virtually. And so again, that's great that you're building a community, right? I think it's very important. So Craig's, again, I'm using Craig because he was brave enough to raise his hand, but sometimes you feel all alone and nobody understands me and nobody understands what I'm going through. That's where this group is phenomenal, because we have 58 people here who are listening, who are willing to help, right? If people want to connect and they share, same thing with the group out there, but you need a support system. As I said, sometimes we're ashamed to tell people we're out of a job. So our best network of people, friends, don't know. You can't suffer in silence, because when Craig made the motion of overthinking, trust me, you're all smart people, right? You're all very intelligent people. So guess what happens? Your brain goes into hyperdrive, because then you start overthinking things. But the more you have a process, and just analyze it like a client. Just think about what you did in your previous job. When you had problems to solve, you analyze data. You look at the actions. If we're not getting the results, we got to tweak this process. If we're not selling, why aren't we selling? That marketing ad didn't work. That process didn't work. These machines we're building aren't working. Well, we got to go dive in. So it's the same thing for you. And again, can be frustrating, but admitting that it's frustrating, being around other people who understand it, who are willing to help, it's important, really, really important. Somebody said here, Joanne says, I also use Twitter to follow target companies. Yeah, again, that's the key for, that's the key for all of the social media, is connecting, understanding them. And again, David, that's true. Every company is hiring, and hiring managers are different, right? So again, David talks all about that, targeting opportunities in healthcare. So again, you're right. Everybody's, we forget. How many of you, show of hands, I still see some, how many of you have hired people for your previous companies? Why didn't you hire everybody? Why didn't some people not work out? Sometimes we forget that. You sat on the other side of the desk and you hired people. And guess what? You sent rejection letters, or your HR department sent rejection letters to those people. They were nice people. They were good. They just didn't fit for whatever reason. Maybe their qualification, maybe they said something silly in the interview. Maybe they just didn't present themselves well. I don't know. But if you've all hired people or not hired people, now you're on the other side. So again, we get rejected for a variety of reasons. The question is, are you willing to, same thing, show of hands, who, for the people who hired, how many, did you ever have people reach out to you and say, why did you reject me? Anybody? A few, right? A couple people did. Why not? Because they're part embarrassed, but they're also not looking at it like it's a job, meaning it's a skill. Interviewing's a skill. How many of you people interviewed people, hands raised again, how many of you have interviewed people and then after you hired them, you're like, they're nothing like what they were in the interview, right? You're all raising your hands and shaking your head. Why? Because everyone's on their best behavior. It's a skill to interview, to present yourself. And then all of a sudden they show up and you're like, where's the person in the interview? That you're not them, right? Or you see another side of them because again, you're on your best behavior. Because again, remember when we're hiring people, that's the last thing we really want to do. I want to get back to work, not going through these interviews. So again, hiring manager could have had a bad day too. It has nothing to do with you. They just didn't want to be doing this today. They didn't want to be talking to you at the interview today. They had a bad day. They had a fight. Their car got hit. They're in a, whatever. So again, the key is it's not easy. Staying, again, whenever you're trying to accomplish something, it's sometimes you don't see the results, right? It's like working out, losing weight. You don't lose weight drastically in a day or two or a month. You didn't gain that extra 10, 15 pounds in a month. It took time and it crept up on you. And same thing when all of a sudden you're working out, all of a sudden you're going, this isn't working. And all of a sudden, because you don't see the change, somebody sees you that hasn't seen you in a couple months. They're like, damn, you look good. And you're like, I do? Because it's gradual. So same thing. It's not easy, but I believe if you're doing everything, like I said, if you got the resume right, you understand how to present yourself, then it's just, I got to go find my audience and I got to get in front of them on social media. I have to leverage my network and connections. I got to go call people I used to work for or used to work with, right? If you worked with a company and you still have friends in that company, hey man, do you know are you hearing any jobs out there? Maybe not the company, but maybe they're hearing things. Oh, so-and-so's hiring, or maybe there's an internal newsletter that they said, oh, we're opening a new office over here. Or they're gonna leverage everything that you can do. And again, it's monotonous at times and you don't see it, the reaction, but if you're getting interviews and you're not getting hired, then you got to say, okay, well, I got in that far, something at that point. If I'm not getting the interviews, then I'm going, okay, I'm not standing out in those stack of resumes. So remember, go back to when you were hiring, if you were the one who got the resumes, what on the resume stood out that made you go, ooh, or it's no, wow. Nope, wow. Same thing for the interview. When you hired people, what did they do that made them memorable to you, that stood out of the 20 people you interviewed or 10 people or 5 people? The one you hired, why? What did they say? What did they do? How did they carry themselves that it clicked? Start looking at that, remembering that, and saying, do I do that? Do I present well? Do I, right? Let's see, David.
Glenn, it's John Sampson. I wondered what you think about the idea of it's a company you really wanted to work for, but you didn't make the grade, asking for another bite of the apple.
If you think you're right? I can't tell you how many times I've pitched clients and it takes me 2 years to close them. But I'm adamant of saying I'm the right one. And they'll say, no, I've had clients who've come back. I tell them, I'm going to tell you the story. You're going to go to that agency and in 6 months, you're not going to be happy. I said, but here's the thing, I'll take you back. Sometimes they do come back, sometimes they don't. They're too embarrassed, but they're already on their 3rd agency after that, right? So I know, but if you think you're right, why not?
Yeah.
Think about it. How many of you, when you interviewed, would you give somebody a second chance? If you were like, I'm there, but I had somebody else. But if somebody said, hey, I think I was a little off on the interview, could I have another conversation? I like that. Me personally, I'd probably say, all right, let's see what you got. Or I'd have somebody else on the team interview them and say, what do you think? Like that to me is strength of purpose versus, oh, I guess I'm not good, versus, no, you're the idiot. I'm right for this job. You're the crazy one. Now, somebody also said ageism. Here's the thing about ageism. Yes and no. Does it exist? Absolutely. But I've said this before, then you have to make that in your pitch, right? Because here's the thing. Yes, I'm going to use Lisa because I see, and Nancy, right? I don't know about age and I'm not going to attempt that. But if we say one's older than the other one and someone's going to say, well, Nancy's younger and probably less expensive, so I'm going to hire Nancy. What you're missing, and again, it exists, but what business people are not realizing, smart people do, smart business people do, is the fact that Lisa, right, may cost a little more, but what I'm not paying attention to is Nancy. Yeah, Nancy's $20,000 less. I can get Nancy. How much of my time is spent now, because Nancy's in my office every day going, what do I do? What do I do? How do I do this? Where Lisa, we could just wind her up and she's gone. And then what also is, Lisa has other experience. She has other things that she can do. So yes, I'm paying more, but I'm getting more. Ageism, same thing. Sorry to say it is out there, but again, the problem is that it's a natural thing, meaning that when salaries get higher and all of a sudden someone's above them and they turn around and they say, so again, from a hiring perspective, you also have to look at it as a dollar amount. You don't know that hiring manager has a budget. And they say, you got to find somebody, we're only paying 50,000 for this role. Yeah, but I've got a great person. They only want 65. What did I tell you? 50, done. You don't know that, right? It could be, I'm going to get, and that's the way some companies do. When you get to a certain level, because I'm going to go hire somebody newer, cheaper, whatever. I don't like that. I like loyalty. As long as you're doing the job, you'll make money. And if I'm paying you, guess what? I'm smart enough to be, if I'm paying you that, I'm making money too. Because the value you're bringing to me, you're retaining my clients. If you're a salesperson, go sell. I'll pay you, keep paying you because your comp plan, if you're making money, I'm making money. There is no, oh, you're making too much money. Then I have a dumb comp plan. I haven't thought it through. So ageism is there, but then you have to sell the value. That's what I'm saying is be very, very careful of just talking titles, because you're not a title. You have all this experience. If you talk about problems that you solve, problems that you solved in the past, what your skill set is, now I'm having better conversations. If I'm just going to go title to title, well, then I'm going to get undersold by somebody else cheaper with the title. Versus I'm a hiring manager and this chaos over here is the problem I'm trying to solve. That's not a title. The problem is the HR person goes, I don't know, all right, let me just throw a title because that's in the machine or that's the title I can figure out. And then I get all these people. You need, especially if you're older, you need to go in and say, listen, here's the problems I've solved. I've built this, I've designed this, I've done this. No title talk. Forget the title, throw it out. What problem do you solve? What value you're bringing to the table? What experience you're bringing to the table? Yeah, 26-year-old person's $20,000 less. Who cares? I can run circles around that person, right? I can build. You know, the joke. I forgot more than they know, right? But you have to sell it. You have to sell the experience. You have to sell the value. Get away from the titles. I'm telling you. Same thing when you, all of you who have hired people. Take time today or over the weekend and just think, what was it like sitting in the hiring chair? What stood out? What did you look for? Because everybody has skills. And a lot of times I can teach the skills. I'm looking for work ethic. I'm looking for how your brain works. I'm looking for how you deal with things when things don't go well. I'm dealing like, how do you collaborate with teams? Skills, I can teach you Google Analytics. I can teach you that's easy, but I can't teach all those other things. So that's the value that you're bringing to somebody is I don't need to be micromanaged. I can run teams. I built teams. I built successful teams. I've taken mediocre teams and made them great. I've headed up multi-million-dollar projects without anybody worrying about it. I've fixed things. I've gone in and fixed things, right? Now you're talking about solutions. Then all of a sudden, it's no longer monotonous because all of a sudden you start talking about yourself as a valuable product, meaning a valuable solution to somebody versus I'm a manager, I'm a man. Now you also start targeting companies. You start looking at ads differently. You start in the interview process, start talking about, well, what problems are you having? Like, why am I even here? That's the best question to ask a hiring manager. Throws them right the hell off. Meaning that you're saying why, right? So if Craig's sitting in front of me and Craig looks at me and goes, great, Glenn, I got a question for you. Why am I here? Now, number one, they can say, well, your resume. No. Why are you hiring to fill this position now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not 6 months from now? What's going on right now that you need this filled? They could turn around, then they open up and they'll say, well, we're expanding. Well, someone left. We're not happy with the person. What's not happening? I don't need to know the person, but what's the problem? What's going on? Now all of your talking points are showing off how you're going to solve that problem for them. You start having a conversation, right? I've always used this image of saying, if Craig and I are facing each other across the table, but if Craig gets me to start talking about the problem, I start turning around and I'm painting a picture. Here's the problem over here. All of a sudden, Craig and I turn around and we're both looking at the problem over here and we're having a conversation about the problem. And all of a sudden, Craig's solving the problem with me. Craig's valuable to me because I like the way you think, Craig, versus tell me about yourself. Oh, here's what I've done. You turn the tables on them and say, why am I here? All of a sudden, now you can solve the problem with them. You can show them your value versus just let's go down memory lane and you're nervous about trying to sell your accomplishments. Well, I took a sales team and I increased the revenue 400%. Well, what does that mean? $100 to $400, $1,000 to $4,000? Like, what are we talking here? Versus, I went into this company and here was the problem that they had. This is why they hired me, right? Tell the story. I was brought in because they were underperforming or they had this and they had no processes. And I built the processes. I built the training book. I was able to replicate. We franchised. We grew from 10 people to 50 people, right? And now it's a story, right? And what's the story? Not my title. The story is here's what we did. And it shows what problems you solve. Those are great stories. Like that's what I would be spending time to break the monotony of what Craig's saying is that I think I'm doing everything, but if we're not getting traction, the story's not. So again, go back to when you were on the other side of the table. What story connected with you? On the resume, right? We've all read resumes and they're all that opening paragraph or summary or cover page. Nothing. A lot of them is like, another story about, go read, I always jokingly say, go read LinkedIn profiles in your industry or of just people. I am a very professional speaking person and versed in, and you're like, blah, 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 blah. What the hell do you do? Right? So tell the story in very simple terms. So as I said, a great exercise for all of you, if you're not getting traction, if you're saying to yourself, like the gentleman said, I had 3 no's, I'd be focusing on the conversation in there. How did I tell my story? If I'm not getting the interviews, I'd be handing my LinkedIn profile, I'd be handing my resume to somebody who doesn't really know what I do and said, can you tell me what I do? Can you tell me what problem I solve by reading this? And if they're going, no, I don't really understand, it's confusing, then you need to rethink how you tell that story problem. And don't just say I'm a problem solver, but I fix things. I'm a fixer. I build things. I take ideas and I build them. I build the processes, I build the structure, I build the training in order to generate profit. Like, ooh, that's a great story. How do you do that? Tell me more about it. Tell me, right? Now I'm leaning in to go, Craig, tell me a little bit more about that. But what did you tell me? You didn't say I was a manager at this. I was a sales manager. No, I built a team. I grew a team. I took over a poor performing team, and through the structure and training and process over the course of the year, we fixed it. We generated this. We did this. And all of a sudden that person's seeing in their brain going, wow, he solves problems. She solves problems. I got a problem. And then that's why I also like that question is, why am I even here? Not you're wasting my time, just curiosity. Why right now? What's going on right now that you need to fill this position versus 6 months ago or 6 months from now? What's going on? They open up, and that's your key to be able to tell your story. So again, the reason why it gets monotonous is because the story's not connecting. So rethink your stories. Rethink your stories. As I said, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old should understand what you do by the time you tell them that, right? I used to always send my articles to my mother. She's 87 now, and she's been a writer for a long time, and she'll say, oh, you're talking in that automotive speak again, which means it wasn't clear enough. If she could understand what the article was about, I'm good. So same thing. Leverage your friends, as I said. If you have close friends that will look at you and say, nah, this isn't good, like honest feedback, and you're like, I'm a big boy and a big girl, you can tell me what's going on, give them your resume. Does this tell the story of what I do? They'll say, yeah, no, this is good, this is a little tweak, I don't understand this. If they don't understand it, even someone in the industry, remember, just because they're in an industry that every business is different. Somebody said it here, every hiring manager is a little different. Every one of you who raised your hand and said, I hire people, are all different. Doesn't matter, you could all be in the same industry. Remember what I said, my account managers in a marketing agency are different than what I have 3 good friends who all run agencies. We compete, but we don't really compete because they're like, there's enough for everybody. But his account managers do something completely different, or the way his business is structured. All of them are different. We all have the same titles because we just go, account manager, whatever, client success manager, whatever you want to call it, it's all different. So same thing for you guys. So again, think through where you are on your journey. And why is it not, to Craig, I'm using Craig's because he's front and center with me, but if he's saying, why am I overthinking it? Why am I not getting traction? The story's not connecting with somebody. Someone's not if you're not getting to the interview process, well then, all of you shook your heads when I said, remember those resumes, and you just turned them over and you're like, no. Well, guess what? That's what's happening to yours. You're on the pile, but when they're reading it, it sounds like everyone else versus, wait, this is different. Let me see. Tell the story differently. Like I said, all your accomplishments, it's that opening paragraph. That's the hook to get them to go. So again, then it becomes fun. If all of a sudden it's like, I got to tell a better story. Now it's when you have a new task, think of all of our New Year's resolutions. January, everybody's pumped, working out, going to do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it gets monotonous and we stop. Why? Because the boring stuff's happening. The ritual, it's the newness is worn off. So I'm throwing a couple new things. So hopefully maybe that charges. But if you're not getting to the interview, well, then something on your resume is not connecting. Or you don't have an advocate to push you into there. So where are my advocates? Got to go find them on social media. I got to let all my people know that I'm looking for jobs. Here's what I do. All my friends can clearly understand what value prop, what solution I provide for companies. So let them become your raving advocates, right? Just like what we want as customers, right? I say about my company is I want to create a business. I want to market your business in a way, but you still have to deliver it to the customers. I'm going to bring the customers there, but the key is if you do your job right, they're going to become raving fans, right? They're going to become raving fans. So all of your network of friends should be raving fans about you. They should all be invested in helping you find a job. If they're really your friends, they should be invested in helping you. The problem is they, 1, don't know that you're looking. Number 2, they don't know what the hell you do. Really, they don't know what problem you solve. So we got to clarify that, get them out there, go out to social media, tell that story, connect with people. If you're in the interview and you're going, man, like the gentleman who said I had 3 rejections, call them up. If you believe that you're the right person, call them up and say, can I get another swing at the bat? If they say, well, no, can you explain to me where I missed? What didn't fit? I'm trying to get better. Let them give you whatever feedback it is, or not. Then you just say, well, something's going on. I didn't present myself well, but then go back and replay those interviews in your head. Were you clear? Were you talking? Did you stumble? Were you just doing business speak, or did you really tell your story? Did you present how you can solve that person's problem? Like literally, it should be, I found the person. I don't have to see anybody else. That's the person I want. Because they solved the problem. They talk in a language I understood about solving problems, like, oop, or at least I moved to the next, good. I'm going to move you down the funnel a little bit. And again, but motivation it's a tricky thing. Brain's a tricky thing, but like I said, going back to starting your day, start your day with gratitude, start your day. Don't let this thing hijack your brain and put you in a reactive state right out of the gate. Read something inspiring, meditate or pray, drink some water, get your body moving. So that first hour, you're saying, okay, I did this for me, and I do it every day before the world's going to start coming at me. And then your process of what you're doing. And it could be every day I'm doing something different instead of everything's the same. Maybe Monday is social media day. I'm just living and dying on social media today, and I'm going to really spend long time in here, and I'm really going to work it out. And then every day you chunk it back and you say, okay, well, I'm going to spend an hour, but on Mondays or Tuesdays, I spend 4 hours. And then you're going, okay, I'm doing research, or this day I'm going to be practicing my interview, or this way I'm going to be doing whatever it is. But if you're keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we're not getting the results, we're not getting traction, we got to step back and say something's not clicking. Something's not clicking because I should be, right? If you're really sitting there going, I should be hired by somebody by now. Well, then either the story's not connecting or we're pitching it to the wrong audience. Right? It's just, we got to take a step back and say, we're not getting the results. So I got to change my routine, right? If I had to change my diet, I got to change this, got to change my attack point. So again, so just to summarize, we talked about the morning. Number 2 is, what's your story? If I asked your friends, your close friends, who you have dinner with and hang out with and barbecue with and all those folks, if I asked them clearly what you did, would they get it right? Or would they tell me what your title is? Oh, he's a lawyer. Oh, he works in IT. Oh, he's a operations manager. Like, that doesn't help me. No, you know what he does? He fixes teams. Man, he's the best. He's the best. Oh my God. The place he's working at, or place he does this, you know what? He does XYZ. She does XYZ. Right? So they don't know it, then they can't be real advocates for you. If they're out there pitching auditor, unless somebody goes, ooh, I'm looking for an auditor, you're missing. But if they're saying, hey, somebody could just, they have a conversation with, man, my cousin's company they're struggling with XYZ, and they're going, boo, I got a friend named Craig. He fixes stuff like that. Let me connect you. But then it's problems, not titles. If all they're selling is a title, that's where it gets lost, right? Gets lost. So to rethink your story, look at your LinkedIn profile, look at your resume. If you handed it to somebody who doesn't know you, do they know what you do? Do they know what problems you solve? Not your title, forget it. What problems do you solve? What value do you bring? What experience do you bring? They should be able to read it and go, wow, that's impressive. And what you're hoping is the real goal of your resume, the real goal of your LinkedIn summary is for somebody to lean in and go, oh, that's cool, Craig. How'd you do that? That's cool, Craig. Tell me more about that. That sounds really interesting. How? What? Right? We lean into the conversation. Tell me more versus, oh, that's nice. And then we move on to a different conversation. So that's what I'd be focusing on. And please, Craig, take a day off. Honestly, you got to have a break, or just go work outside. You know, go on your back porch, go to the park, break it up. But again, looking at the same stuff every day is not good for your brain. That's why starting your day off, because every day you might be grateful for something else, right? And my task list is different, and the pages of the book I read is different. So it's not exactly, I'll just get up, go get my coffee, go sit at my desk, plunk, and I get up for lunch and I come back, plunk. Like, no, we got to break that up. So go for a walk, go out there, have phone calls with friends. If, again, social distance lunch. But again, go talk to one of your best friends this weekend and just ask them a simple question. Tell me what I do. Explain to me what you think I do for a living. Explain to me what you think problems I solve for companies. What value do you think I bring to companies? You're going to be interested, right? How would you describe me? Fascinating when you ask those questions. Because I'll guarantee you, I haven't done it. I could go ask some of my friends and they go, oh, yeah, you run a marketing company. What the hell does that mean? And I take that for granted as well, because I've probably missed out on opportunities to help market friends' businesses because they don't think of me because I haven't made it really clear what I do, which is I connect businesses to customers online so you can sell more. All of a sudden they go, oh, you need more sales, your online stuff, and go to Glenn. Glenn fixes all that stuff. Glenn's good at that, right? That's what you want to do. So those are a couple things to think about. Starting your day. There's a free download book. There's a guy who is a friend of mine. His name is Glenn as well, Glenn Lundy. It's called The Morning 5 with the number 5.com, I believe. Morning5.com. It's a free download book. It's like a ebook, but he talks all about very similar things of your morning, gratitude, setting your goals. What are your goals? Reading, staying away from the phone, exercise, move, all of that. And, you know, we talk about it because I do it one way, he does it another way, but it worked. And then same thing, when you're talking about your resume, go back and look at it. Think about those, where you are on the interview journey, where you're getting to your, if I can, how do I get into that company if that's my target company? Who do I know in there? Who do I connect with in there? Thank you, David, for putting it, the morning5.com. Is that it? Is that it? Let me just see.
Well, I only typed it in because you wrote it.
Yeah, no, I think it's the morning. Yeah, it's, let me, I'll copy, no, it's this one, themorning5.com ebook. Nice guy, he runs a room on, Clubhouse every morning called Breakfast of Champions. He's trying to be, his business is motivation and coaching and things like that, but I'm not selling that. But his book is, it's a fun thing to look at. So again, that's what your takeaways should be. Again, if you're feeling down or you're feeling like you're hitting a wall, talk to somebody. Go talk to somebody, bounce ideas around. That's why you have this group. Reach out to me. Like, I offer it all the time, and some people take me up on it and some people don't. Some people call me up and Glenn, can I talk to you? Like, absolutely. What are you doing? If I can help you in any way, if you want to run by what you're doing, I'm on this side of the desk. I can tell you what I look for. I can tell you how we do this. I can look at your LinkedIn profile. Like I said, I don't consider myself one of the LinkedIn experts, but I know what catches my eye. I am a marketer, so I know how to market. So the question is, how do we market you? How do we get you to stand out beyond your title? And it really comes down to asking yourself a very simple question. What problems do you solve for companies? Right? Not a title, but obviously somebody's looking for you or to fill a position for a reason. They're growing and they need something. Somebody quit on them and they need something. Someone's underperforming and they need something, or they want to go in a new direction and they need some help. Those are problems. Those are not easy. Same thing when you were hiring. Again, if you hired people, spend some time this weekend thinking about why did I hire that person? What stood out? What was I looking for? What made me stop and look at that resume versus another resume? And then go back and look at your own. My wife, as I said, always is a good level set for me. So when I'm struggling with something, or I'm not doing so, or I'm complying, she'll say, maybe you should go watch one of your own videos, right? Go take your own, right? Physician heal thyself type of thing. Like, yeah, you tell everybody to do it, but you're not doing it. Go back and watch one of your own videos, right? And it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not doing what I should. You know. So again, don't discount the fact that you were on the other side of the table as a hiring person. That should be a huge asset to you to look at what you're doing and mirror that, because you're just like all the other hiring people. Right? What probably stood out for you is going to stand out for them. Take a swing at the bat. What do you got to lose? Same thing, telling your story. Use that question that I said. Can I just ask you a question? Why are we here? Why are you filling this position now? What's going on? Why not six, and say that, why not 6 months ago, or why not 6 months from now? What's going on right now? They will tell you the problem they're trying to solve. And then that's your opening to tell your story of how you're the right person to solve that problem. Because look at what I've done in the past. I've done that in the past. I took over a team. Boy, this team was in trouble. Or I took over a successful one and grew it even more by doing X, Y, Z, Z, Z. And you're telling them, you're not titling, you're telling. Here's how I did it. Here's how I think. Here's how I look at it. And now you're having a conversation, like I said, about their problem. You're starting to solve their problem. They're starting to look at you not as an interview, but they're starting to look at you as like, they're starting to see you on the team saying, man, I could bounce ideas off of these folks. Wow, this is good. And they go, wow, that was a great conversation. Thank you very much. And then they walk out and they're thinking something about that person. because you're not all the other people. Let me tell you about my title. And I'm just rereading the resume. Try it. What do you got to lose? Nothing. But stand out. You got to be different. And talking about solutions, thinking that way breaks also, as I said, breaks the monotony, because then you become that person on LinkedIn. You start answering, commenting on people's articles in that manner. That's a phenomenal thing. I've done this. One of the things that was very successful for me was, and then they start having conversations. Same thing, if you are a writer, once a month, you probably all have the ability to write an article that says 3 things that you can do to fix X, Y, Z. If you think back in your previous jobs and you say, what problems did I solve? How did I do it? Write an article about it. 3 ways to fix X. 3 best training things. Here's 3 things to overcome to train your employees. Communicate. Here's 3 ways to be better communicators. Here's 3 ways to solve X. Again, here's an article. All of a sudden, people like it. People go, oh, they're smart. Oh, I like them. Connection, and just continue to build your network. But again, if you're going out at talking about how you solve things, then it becomes fun versus here's my title. No, wait, remember, throw the titles away. You are not your title. You are problem solvers. Go sell that. Let's see, any other questions? Thank you, everybody, for the comments. I hope it was helpful. I hope this was helpful for people, because as I said, COVID on top of this is, like the double whammy, because you're in the house and you can't go out. You can't go hang out with your friends and have a drink and talk about stuff. It's like, ugh. So, and I'm telling you, companies are hiring. Businesses are hiring. It's just, don't limit yourself to the industry you were in. Again, once you start really thinking about how you solve problems, that opens up a ton of industries. When you start saying, I build teams, everybody has teams. Yes, you might have worked in, this industry. I have teams. I have sales teams. People have that, So again, once you start thinking about problems you solve, it opens up way more industries for you to start thinking about to target. And other people can sell you. Remember, other people will sell you if they know what you do in terms of solving problems. Any last questions before I wrap up? I know I try to stay on time, David.
Just one more, Glenn. As
Sure.
Interviewees, which is most of us, because we're trying to get jobs, do you have any suggestions about how we might turn an interview from an interrogation to a conversation?
Well, there's a couple things that, if you're going to be doing Zoom interviews, so a couple little tips. I'm sure somebody's come in, but make sure you're presentable, meaning that your backdrop is presentable. Also, make sure you're well lit. A lot of you are dark right now. Notice me, I have a light. I have my handy dandy lights, right? So I have them. Why? Because I film things. But get lit, or sit in front of a window so light is on you, because a lot of you just take a look at people, right? Even like, again, looking at David. David has a shelf and some pictures, right? Like, again, just make it presentable so that it's not distracting. What we don't want is somebody going, what is going on? And even sometimes when you put the fake backdrops in, those ones like on Zoom, sometimes when you move, now I get swirly lights around my head. But to answer your question, John, is have conversations. Make it a conversation. Don't let it be an interrogation. But if you're sitting there and you start thoughtfully asking questions, right? If I'm sitting here with you, one is you just say, hi, welcome, great. I would start off asking them questions. I'd like to interview them. Can you tell me a little more in detail about the job? Like the day-to-day of what this job would be, right? They're going to start telling you, right? Think of when you, again, going back to think of when you guys were on the other side of the table. How uncomfortable some of those words are. You felt like you had to draw things out of people. Versus someone asks you, you're like, oh God, they're a talker. Great, let's talk. So I'd take control of the conversation. Tell me about this. Ask them a question. Why now? All of a sudden there's the problem. Then you'll get to who you are and you'll get to your accomplishments, but it's how you get to the accomplishments, but it's more about how you sell it to solve the problem. But if not, if we just start out going, hi, let me tell you about myself. I don't know what's important to you as an interviewer. I don't know what's important to you, right? If you've ever done an interview, the person who's doing the interview, if they read your article, or they'll prep you and they'll say, I'm going to tee it up, I'm going to say this question to start, and then we'll go. I'm like, okay, but I know why I'm there to talk about this. So same thing here. You might have to take that pressure off of them by asking them questions, right? Let them lead you, because then you can strategically use your skill set to solve their problem versus I have to guess what's important to you. I could be talking about, well, I built a company and I built this team and I did this, and they're going, yeah, but that's not what I'm looking for. Get them talking first. That's how you build a conversation. Make sense, John? Great. Great. Let's see. Actually, so I have to run, feel free. Great, Craig, good luck. Remember what I said? Get them talking, get them talking. Ask them those questions, see how it works, okay? Great, so again, if anybody has any questions, let me just type in, here's Glenn. I'll put my email here.
Yeah, and I did place it a little bit earlier, plus your LinkedIn
so again,
profile.
You can reach out to me there, connect with me on LinkedIn. If I can help anybody in any way, you want to run some things by me, you want to say, hey, what I got, just like I've had other people going, I have an interview tomorrow, can I ask you a couple questions? Or they call me back afterwards and said, here's how it works. I'm not selling anything, right? So I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling you coaching. I'm not selling you. I do this because Rich asked me years ago to help. I've been on both sides. As I've told my story, I've been looking for a job. I worked for a company for 10 years and it disappeared, and it was a hard year and a half. But I also learned a lot. I wouldn't be where I am today without getting fired. Sometimes I wonder what happens if I had stayed there. Like, I wouldn't be the person I am now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. But I do this because I want to help people. So let me help you if you want. All right.
Great. Thank you so much, Glenn. It's always a pleasure. I love it when you're here. And Glenn's story is right. You know, there's a fellow, Jack Killian, he talks about network with anybody, anywhere, all the time. Rich Pollock and Glenn met on a Little League field. Their kids were playing Little League together, and that's what started this path of participating with job seeker support groups. So you can meet anybody anywhere.
Yeah,
I really
I just heard him lean over to me and he said, hey, I read your article on because I wrote an article about the bad interviews I was having. I was like, why do people do this? Here's 5 mistakes that people do. And he leaned over to me. He said, hey, I read that article. I said, okay, thank you very much. And then next thing you know, he pitched me on helping. And I've been doing this now for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
Yeah. And a number of groups. So terrific.
Yeah. So
we're very appreciative of your support.
Let me help you if I can, because it's my opinion.
So Glenn is certainly very generous. He's the real deal. Feel free to contact him, and thank you for offering us to do so. I really liked your point about starting a day with an intention, being with an intention, whether it's having a ritual or a morning routine, getting your brain started, getting your blood pumping, really seemed to make a lot of sense. And your comment about your friends and family don't really know you, at least professionally. And that's very real for me. My father never really understood anything I did except I was an IT guy. And I know every time I go to a family function, the same relatives ask me, hey, what do you do? So either they're not listening to me, that could be the case, or I've never really engaged them properly, and that's what I would have to do if I was job hunting right now. But it's true. Actions cause results, and the actions, they could be big, they could be medium, but they could be small. So just trying anything different or new may be the action you need to really restart your path and overcome anything that's been blocking you. So all wonderful points, and obviously, things that Glenn lives by. So terrific. Thank you very much. Want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. And by the way, we will keep this session open for just open networking. I will turn the microphone off, so anyone who wants to hang around for a little while can do so with us. But right now, just let you know, next week will be April 9th. Lynn Williams will be back with us. Strategic research-based approach to LinkedIn. She's just done a heck of a lot of research to understand not how to use LinkedIn, but how LinkedIn works, what they do. Plus, she's on committees with LinkedIn. So please try and make some time if you're interested in being more effective on LinkedIn. That's April 9th. April 16th, I'll be doing a presentation. It's called Interview Preparation and Tips. And we will be talking about video interview as well, some of the things that Glenn alluded to just a few minutes ago. So if you need more of me, please come on April 16th. I'll be doing that presentation. Other groups that are always active certainly would be PSG of Central New Jersey meets on Mondays at 10:30 in the morning. PSG of Central New Jersey. It's psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz, and PSG of Morris County meets Wednesdays at 9:30, psgmc.org, psgmc.org, Wednesdays at 9:30. And next week, next Saturday, which is April 10th, the Breakfast Club of New Jersey will be meeting. And so if you're interested, thebreakfastclubnj.com. So that's what's coming up. So we hope to see you all very soon, if not in person, virtually. And for those who will be celebrating Easter, please have a happy Easter. And celebrating the end of Passover, have a happy Passover. But until we get together again, I'll simply say, bye, everybody.